Would have had this last year.
One. Right. Hi, everyone. This has been a long time coming. Alistair said that he started this process a year ago or something like that.
Yeah, I won't make any excuses for my laziness other than I needed the tank for an army or for a tournament, but then the situation changed and I no longer needed the tank for that tournament. But I did need the tank for a tournament very recently, therefore I can complete the painting guide, which we're going to talk you through.
Because we are going to do a painters interview. Now, Alistair, you've won quite a lot of painting competitions.
Yes,
And fairly big ones with a lot of good painters in them as well. And you run your own painting studio as well.
I do.
Uh,
I do.
how often do you actually paint up miniatures just to sell them or to like pass them on to a customer or yeah? Or
Well,
how often do you paint for yourself?
the painting service I operate is called Brushwork Miniatures, and
Link in
I've
the description, by the way.
thank you very much. But you'll find my page on Facebook and Instagram, I believe. I can't remember if I have that. So for myself, I do commission painting, and I think on average I'll produce maybe 2 bolt action armies a year and maybe 3 Games Workshop Blood Bowl teams per year for customers. So they'll contact me, say that they've got X number of models to be painted or projects to be painted, and then I'll provide them a quote, a time frame, and the transaction will take place.
Yeah.
On top of that, for my own personal painting, I try to give myself a new bolt action army every year. I actually failed last year, but I did do a lot of other things. But something else that bolt action players will understand is that you're always adding to your current armies, and so the painting guide that we're going to talk you through today is for winter German camouflage, and I my winter German army started in 2019, and I'm still
So
adding
you're
to it.
still building basically.
Yep, yep. And different tournaments present different options, different ideas, and metas for competitive play shift and swing.
Yeah.
So
You might need a new
some
tank or something
yeah,
pops up in a new book that you might need. Yeah.
yeah, precisely. And also it's a way to keep things fresh for myself as a player and a painter. The Warlord Winter German range is excellent, and I own all of it, I think.
Yeah.
But this one in particular, once Bo opens up the PowerPoint, is
And
we're
I
going to be
will do
talking.
so now because
Okay, that'll
yeah.
save me talking about that.
I just wanted to ask you one final question before we actually go
Of course.
through how you paint stuff. Do you paint in different qualities? Like a lot of commission painters will do like tabletop standard or tabletop standards plus or like piece of art, like different qualities. Do you do that, or do you basically just say I'll paint it and this is what it costs?
No, I'll deliver 2 different standards.
Hmm,
One is tabletop quality, and then one is a tabletop quality plus, for lack
yeah.
of a better term. I don't do display pieces.
Hmm,
Um, I'll do one-off projects like single miniatures to
yeah.
tabletop plus standard, but they're not excellent things for display. Nor would I put myself out there as a painter that would do paint a miniature range for like promotions. When there's different Kickstarters that have
Yeah.
got like 3D prints, I wouldn't put myself forward for things like that. Not because I'm not good enough. I think I could be good enough to
Mm,
do it, but it's just not what I want to do.
yeah.
I want to get models painted to a good standard within a achievable time frame for customers and for myself. I guess I reserve my very best painting for myself.
Which I must admit, I do the same. Right. Now, this all started with me contacting Alistair saying, you're one of the better painters that I know, one of the best painters that I know personally. And could you perhaps do something where you taught people how you paint stuff? And he was like, yeah, okay, I can do that, but let's like figure out how to do it and make it with video. And all this was a year ago that this process started in our heads. Um, so it took a while. But we're finally here. You chose to paint up a vehicle. Why did you choose a vehicle?
Well, there's a bit of reason. You'll see there's a company logo on the screen there. So, as part of Mardav Miniatures sponsorship of the Megatron 3000, I promised them that I would do a painting guide.
Yeah.
And they provided me with a Kugelblitz. So they're a 3D printing company, and the Kugelblitz they provided is of excellent quality. I'm not sure where the parent file is generated from, but obviously they have license to print and sell these.
Yeah.
The Kugelblitz, again, as we were talking about adding to the Winter Germans,
Mm.
it is another sort of option that I wanted to have within my own army, and the twin heavy autocannons that the
They're
Kugelblitz
lovely.
displays is
They are
fantastic.
lovely. They are.
And one of the other reasons now is that because the Winter Germans, as I said, I painted the bulk of the army in 2019.
Mm.
It's a process I'm really familiar with doing the winter camouflage scheme on my German vehicles, so I can deliver it efficiently and consistently
Mm.
when the need arises. So that's one of the reasons why I chose that style, and it's
Yep.
also one that I've had a lot of questions about, just because as there's a lot of different ways to get to the end outcome, and I believe I take a bit of an alternate one, as we'll
I
find out
think
in
you
later
do, because
steps.
I saw some of these slides, which is he does some weird shit here.
Yes,
Anyway, you'll talk us through it. So
I
the
will.
first thing you do, you get your model, you clean it up. I'm guessing you use an X-Acto knife and just clean out whatever, like.
Yep. So most 3D printing companies, they will supply the miniature with all the supports removed, but
Yep.
there are still some little support struts that need to be taken into account. So you get a little scalpel knife, remove them, maybe some really fine grained sandpaper just to smooth off any edges. And it's been my practice to give these resin prints a little bit of a light wash, just in warm soapy water. So nothing too stressful.
Yep.
And then just let it sit and dry for 24 hours.
Yep.
That just ensures that there's no releasing agents depending on the company's method of producing them. Any alcohol left over is gone as well. So I have to say that the miniature from Mardav Miniatures that they supplied it took maybe 4 or 5 minutes to tidy up. It was in
So
very
that
good
was very,
condition.
very good condition.
Yep.
Yeah.
And as you can see by the picture, those are the parts that it came in: 2 tracks, the hull, and the turret.
4 parts. That is not a lot of.
Yeah.
I just assembled a Rubicon kit, and that was 45 parts, something like that.
Yes.
It was insane. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So then you
So
undercoat.
yeah, so step two, as you can see, I'm just going to be using an airbrush. So it's my airbrush hood that you'll see in the background of a lot of these images. And I use the Vallejo surface primers, black and white, through my airbrush. The airbrush I use is a Badger Patriot 105. But I've also got an Iwata CM paintbrush, airbrush that does I like to refer to it as it does my donkey work, base coats and stuff. But
Yeah.
but for this, I was using the Badger Patriot, so
Okay.
really good.
How many layers of undercoat do you give such a project here?
Just one,
Just one.
just one layer of undercoat.
Yeah.
It should take to it quite easily.
Right. Then you do something weird. You give it a black coat as well.
Yeah, so I undercoated it white initially,
Hmm.
and then I used the black as an edging.
Hmm.
So you can see it's gone down the panel lines on the edges of the vehicle. And this is for the next couple of steps, that it adds a different level of shading
Mm.
to it. Some people will undercoat black and do white lining,
Yeah.
so that the darkness is in the sort of middle of the panel areas,
Yeah.
whereas I like it to be bright in the middle and then sort of it feathers out to darkness.
Okay.
Again, all done by
Is there
airbrush.
something like the idea of a zenithal highlight, which some people I know do on miniatures in this, that you won't actually see these shades, but they will add a little bit of darkness to
Well,
some of the
it
colors?
adds it provides darkness and light
Yeah.
without having to change what the color is.
Mm,
Just when the color sits on top of two different styles of undercoat, so it is the zenithal
yeah.
concept, but it's just
Yeah.
done with lining, and it's not got a specific light source at all. I have
Yeah.
paneled the
Yeah.
entire vehicle.
Yeah. And then you go to their main colors here.
Yeah, so we are now. This is where I should explain that before you go to winter,
Mm.
you have to do the summer camouflage. I approached this from the angle that the German vehicles would have been in summer or autumn camouflage before their white winter coats were applied. So I start by painting a summer camouflage scheme.
Mm,
And so I highlight that I am not a hugely historical painter, but I go for accuracy or as close to accuracy as I possibly can. So the colours I chose are all from the Vallejo model air colour range. I've detailed the numbers and names on the slide there, but they are dark yellow, camouflage light green, and camouflage medium brown.
yeah.
Um, and so they're going to get applied in 3 steps. Again, all via airbrush.
Right. Um, is there any particular order you like to use these in? Like
I
going
like to
from
go
dark to light or light to
I
dark or?
light to dark.
Yeah.
So starting from light to dark. And again, it's looking at the historical references. Which colours were more dominant, and what colours were applied on top of other colours. So the base colour is the dark yellow.
Yeah.
Some people will sort of look to think that that should be the dunkelgelb. Go and find that colour if that's what you want to do. But
Yeah.
in my little corner of World War II make believe, we've base coloured this with the dark yellow.
Mm.
You can also see in this image as well, especially on the turret, just because it's a bit
Yeah.
more in focus of the image,
Yeah.
where that darkness shows through
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
opposed to the
It's
lights.
really clear, and it does enhance and sort of give a little bit of not texture, but a little bit of difference in the different parts of it. I kind of like it. Yeah.
Yep.
And then you go to 4, so green camo. Um,
Yeah. So step 6,
oh,
green
6. Yeah.
camouflage time.
Yeah.
So you're you're back in the airbrush again, and you are doing green lines. There's no real sort of rhyme or pattern to it. It's camouflage color, camouflage pattern that's going on. You can see though I make mine quite thick.
Mm,
Um, if you look at a lot of historical references, the green camo lines are usually a little bit thinner, but I
mm.
prefer just to go on quite thick. Again, that's just purely my style. But once it's complete,
It does make it easier to paint as well if you
it
don't go
does.
very thin. Yeah.
It does. Um, Once you've applied that green, though, the coverage should be about 50% green, 50% yellow when you're
Okay.
looking at the model.
Uh, and this will become apparent for some reason later on, I'm
In the
guessing.
future, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
it all adds to
Different layers of
the different
color.
layers, the
Yeah.
realism of it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a quick process by any means, but it's something that the end outcome it shows through. I
Yeah.
hope.
How much time do you give these the different layers of drying time?
I usually give them about a couple of hours
Okay.
at the moment.
Yeah.
Just they're all water-based acrylic paints, so they do dry reasonably quickly.
Mm.
So next up is the camouflage medium brown,
Yeah.
and so with this, I'm trying to follow along the lines of the green, so
Mm.
that I'm obscuring a little bit of the green.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm not trying to obscure too much more of the yellow because I still want that to be a not a dominant color, but a color that's still present in
Still
equal
present.
measures.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that sometimes when you're looking at it, it will be yellow, brown, green
Mm.
as a sort of you can see them building up in the 3 layers.
Right.
Um,
And I can see you're doing one thing that I did myself on my Czechoslovakian tanks, which is like pick out a few of the wheels in one of the colors that
Yeah,
you're doing the camo for.
yep. So
Um,
the little wheels on the tracks, they're
yeah,
slowly getting picked off as well. And
yeah,
I think you can see in that image as well that obviously I'm painting it in its component parts.
mm,
So even the space behind the wheels where the tracks will be glued, that's
yeah,
still getting camouflage treatment as well,
yeah,
just as part of the model.
yeah.
So
Then we go to details.
yeah. So this is time. This is the time where you put the paintbrush down. No, sorry, you put the airbrush down. You pick up the
Mm,
paintbrush.
yeah,
So I am using just the colours I have on hand, but I've detailed them there. So the Games Workshop Black Templars contrast paint,
mm,
Games Workshop Lead Belcher, so it's just a silver type
yeah,
colour, and I've got the Vallejo German Green. Now the contrast paint isn't essential, but I like it for its speed in that it's a black.
mm,
It's not. It's a black ink wash, but it's got a lot of like a high density pigment count in it.
yeah,
So you can paint it to form an undercoat for the tracks, which you can see on the front of the tank and obviously on the
mm,
the moving parts of the tracks, and then just the different tools that are around. There's
yeah,
spanners and wrenches and little axes and stuff, and that forms the undercoat for that. Then with the lead belcher, it is literally a dry brush
yeah.
on some of those component parts.
Just to give them a slight metallic look.
A slightly metallic look, but
Mm,
not completely metallic.
mm,
Just a slight metallic look. The other thing I've got there though is the German green, and I used that to do some a little bit of lining work on the tires.
yeah,
Sorry, the wheels. So you
mm,
can see the wheels there. They weren't complete metal. There was some sort of rubber esque
yeah.
material there. So it's just to add to that. I hate seeing realism, but it's to make sure that it looks a more complete model.
The details sell it, right? So
It is.
you
It
have a
is.
little bit of difference in different textures, a little bit of difference in color. That really sells it.
Yep. And you can see the model starting to come more alive
Yes,
as we go through.
especially now that you're giving it like the final treatments here with
Yep. So there was one
some
stage that,
transfers and stuff. Yeah.
yep, there was one stage between steps 8 and 9. Using that previous German color,
Mm.
you can see I've lined all the panels with it.
Yes.
So all the panels have been lined with that same color. I've also gone round
I'll just
all
go
of,
back so that people can see here.
yep,
You haven't got the lining, and here you have got the lining.
yep. So that lining happened at the same time.
Is
Uh,
this watered down so it's almost a wash, or how do you
It
do
is
this?
watered down. But it already comes watered down because that German color that's from the Vallejo Air range.
Oh, so
So
it's
those,
very, yeah,
yep. So those
very
paints
thin.
are already at a consistency that they can go straight into an airbrush. But if you use them with a normal brush, they're already watered down,
Mm,
and you can pick out all the lining quite easily. So all the hatches, panels, all the
mm,
tools that were previously painted, all the wheel runners. I don't quite know what the technical name for them is, but the wheels that turn the tracks round.
yeah, yeah,
And you can see it quite clearly on the turret as well.
yeah.
But obviously, in step 9, it's adding the transfers. So the German crosses, I just pluck numbers that I think look the
Mm,
part
yeah.
on the sides of tanks. You'll also find I don't take a rear shot, but there's a license plate and a few other details there.
Mm,
I haven't photographed the products that I use, but they're Micro Set and Micro Sol. They're two they're two sort of liquid products that are used for applying transfers.
mm,
One of them helps to uh, form a nice surface for the
mm,
transfer to go on, and the other one softens the transfer and helps it wrap around any details that are there. So if you're putting a German cross over a panel,
mm.
it'll help soften the transfer so that it'll actually dip into the groove of the
Into the
panel.
panel, yeah, yeah,
Yep. So it doesn't look as though, oh, you've just stuck a sticker on.
yeah.
And they actually take about 24 hours to completely set.
So again, this adds time. Now, a lot of people would, I think, perhaps even stop here. Um,
Yes. So what we've got, I'll just show them for camera.
Yeah.
Microset and Microsol.
Microsol. Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because what we're staring at now on screen is a vehicle in summer camouflage,
Yep.
ready to go for the tabletop.
Yep.
The only step you could do here is maybe add a little bit of weathering powder just to dust it up a little bit if you
Yeah.
wanted. But
And a
that
varnish,
tank,
and then you're
yeah,
ready to go.
but
Yeah.
that tank sitting there right now is ready for war.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not ready for war in winter.
No, it's not, because we need to winter it up now.
We
Now,
need to
this
winter it up.
process is also interesting, because I thought that you were going to do like maybe some snow effects or something, and this is what it is. So,
Yeah.
what's with the hair?
Okay. Right. This is where the magic happens, or the
With the
sorcery.
hairspray? What?
So the first thing you have to do is varnish the model with an appropriate varnish. So I've used Army Painter satin varnish from our rattle can.
Mm.
So go to somewhere that's well ventilated. Outside is your best preference,
Yeah.
and varnish it and let that cure for 24 hours. Let it sit.
Mm.
As all painters know, once you've got a varnish on, that forms a protective layer for minor paint chipping, gaming damage. It also protects the model from the oils on your fingers. Over time, it all builds up.
Yep.
So that's what the varnish is going to do, and it's going to protect the paint color scheme underneath. Yes, there's a can of hairspray there. After the varnish is cured for 24 hours, go back outside with your hairspray
Mm-hmm.
and put a nice even layer, not thick. It's hairspray sprays differently to everything else you've ever sprayed.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
But hairspray is a lacquer.
Mm.
It forms a protective layer for hair,
Yeah.
and it holds body and etc. etc. But what we want to do is we want to sit a layer on top of the varnish
Mm.
that is reactive to water.
Yeah.
And that sorcery will be explained in the next couple of slides. But this does take 24 to 48 hours to do. So varnish on first, set the model aside, let it cure for 24 hours, pick it up, take the hairspray out, spray it all over again. My one warning is hairspray is stinking.
Yep.
I used L'Oreal from Paris. It was the one available at my local supermarket, and I have to say, as a bald man with a beard buying a can of hairspray, which was all I bought, I did get a few looks. Even though they know I'm married and they know my wife, they still
Yeah.
thought, "No, this is odd." But
That's weird.
yep, but this is where the magic happens, so to speak.
Right. Because by step 11, you're going to ruin your nice camo.
Yes. So varnish is on, cured. Hairspray is on, cured. Time to go back to the airbrush and pick up the white. So this is the white camouflage arriving, and spray the model. I try to avoid the tracks just because they wouldn't get any
As
winter
much. Yeah.
camouflage paint on them as much.
Yeah.
But yeah, spray everything else white, because this is just a big step, and you will, it is heart in your mouth time. It's like you've spent a large portion of time to make this miniature look great for summer. Now it's time to winter it. But
Now you've
just
ruined it.
imagine late October, early November,
Yeah.
those here grenadier guys just throwing white paint at these tanks just to camouflage them. This is what you're doing. You are following in the footsteps of the Wehrmacht, so to speak.
Ruining the nice camo.
You're ruining it.
And then comes the real magic.
Right. So the magic here. Now, I mentioned before that the hairspray is reactive to water.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is you have to get an old paintbrush, and it's not an exact science, but you get an old paintbrush and wet it with some nice clean water, and then you're literally going to start to rub. I always start with the transfers just because the Germans would have wanted to make sure that their symbols were
Mm.
visually, acceptable to their allied forces, and you start to rub. And what eventually happens is the water will rub through the paint. It will then rub through the hairspray, and it will actually start to remove the hairspray and the paint. But that layer of varnish underneath protects the model.
Still protect the model.
And so once you've revealed the symbols, this is the process I do. Once you've revealed the symbols, I then go to other areas that I think that the vehicle would get worn. So if there are stairs, corners of hatches, just edges where the vehicle...
corners of the vehicle that might brush against nature as it drives through a forest.
Precisely. Yeah. Again, it is not an exact science because the paint will come off in sort of patches and blobs from time to time.
But that's what you want, right?
It is. It's a random element, but you can see the process there. Again, the the smell because you're reactivating the hairspray.
Yeah.
It does make it happen.
Yeah.
Once that's happened, though, I have got another color there, and it's another Vallejo model air color, and it's a generic light brown. I go around and reline everything again. This might seem a little bit excessive, but
a little bit.
It's that process of that the vehicle, now that it is in winter, will also be weathered again.
Yeah.
So it needs to be lined again. And I use a lighter brown to do that, just so that it doesn't... If you use that previous darker German color, the contrast between that and the white camouflage would just be too much. So the lighter brown is a softer weathering.
Yeah.
And then for the next stage, it is the full weathering of using different weathering pigments and powders. So my partner, my wife, likes to refer to this as my makeup kit.
Yeah.
But it's Tamiya weathering set, and it contains a sand, light sand, and mud weathering pigment. And I just apply that over the tracks and the front of the hull, and then a little bit towards the rear. Again, though, when I put this painting guide together, I'm not trying to teach skills.
No.
So people will have to already know how to apply these weathering pigments. You'll need to know how to use an airbrush. All I'm teaching is processes on how all these different skills can be applied together.
Yep.
I suppose the only new one that might be there is the hairspray factor, which still blows my mind.
Right.
And the other one I've not commented on there was I used a black soot color for the ends of the gun barrels, and also for the exhaust pipes at the rear.
Yep. Just giving that burned out look.
Yeah,
of something where something hot has been passing through a couple of times. Yeah. Looking very, very flashy. Then you take the final pictures here. I must say this is one lovely tank.
Yeah. So once you zoom in, you can see that light brown edging on everything, and then you can also see where the weathering powders, especially on the tracks and the front of the hull, really come into its own. And just how it adds to that overall look. And then again at the rear, I think if you click to the next slide, there's one more slide.
Yep.
And you see how it is at the rear as well. So yeah, it's a vehicle I'm really happy with. And I need to thank Mardav Miniatures again for supplying the model itself, and for their sponsorship of my wargaming event, the Megatron 3000. They were very generous in what they supplied.
Right. I will link to Mardav in the description as well here for this. Alistair, thank you so much for coming on and showing us the process of this, and congratulations on a very, very nice result.
No, that's absolute pleasure. For those that game against me, you'll see my Winter Germans pop up quite a bit. I already know on the painting table for them, I've got a Panther, a Borg Ward, 250/9, and a Flak Zwilling, all being applied to Winter. Yes, it's a big...
All the nasty autocannon spam that you can pull in.
It's a big upgrade, but thank you again. And if for yourself, Bo, and for your audience, feel free to distribute the PowerPoint if anybody requests it. If anybody does have any questions, please contact me through my Facebook page, Brushwork Miniatures. There'll be various links. I will happily answer any questions, talk about different products that I use or don't use, and the like. Bo, a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And that was it for us today. I will see you in the next video. Hopefully we can do more of these hobby videos with different painters over time. That is at least the intention. So see you next time. Cheers.